Sancho Raheem Sterling swap deal. I want to get into it because, I mean, there is talk that this is genuinely possible. Chelsea like Sancho. Sterling's open to Man United. If we let, there's an option there. It may be more likely that Sancho ends up going to Juventus. That is also on the cards as well. But from a Premier League perspective, does this deal work, David?
I mean, I don't see how it solves either of our problems because we both want them gone. But I mean, to be honest, again, it's just like it's the same thing as the Lukaku thing, right? It's just like if Sterling's just not of use, you might as well just try and get rid of him and see if there's another player who can come in and sort something out. He's going to be better than Mudryk today. That's one thing for sure. He can't be worse because he's getting coached through games and getting sold off at 45 minutes. Hey, Giuseppe, I've got hope, but it's going to take time. It's going to take time. If I need instant impact, I'm not bringing him on right now. His confidence is shot. So, no. I think it's an interesting deal, but it doesn't solve the problem. I thought our whole thing was we want to get rid of the wages. Let's get rid of all these guys on big wages. But Sancho would come in and be on 350k. So yeah, it's long. It's a very weird deal. I'm not completely against it because he could be of some use. And also one-on-one winger, that's probably his best attribute. So yeah.
Because one thing Chelsea need is another winger.
Yeah, but Tom, we're getting rid of another winger, so it's just like basically we're in the same spot as we were before. So it's not adding. It's girl math. We're not adding somebody new. It's the same thing.
Hang on, what math?
It's girl math.
Well, hang on, you got to break that down. I don't know what that means.
No, it's like a trend, like a TikToky thing. Don't worry, it's not me being sexist. It's not me.
No,
being sexist.
I didn't think it was that. I just didn't understand it.
It's like the way my friends describe it is like she buys a dress, she returns it back. Therefore, because the dress costs £80, her profit is £80.
Okay, right, I get you.
That's what I mean.
No, I've got a cousin. And when she buys bags, she views it like this. She goes, well, it's £2,000. She's like, but I'm going to use it this many times over the next 4 or 5 years. So she breaks it down and she's like, so it's really only £25 per use. Exactly. It's well worth it type thing. So yeah. I get what you mean. mean. That makes sense. I get what you, I want to throw this out first of all. Part of me is dead against it. The original story is that Chelsea might offer us Chilwell and Sterling. Part of me goes straight away, Chilwell, no, always injured. When I think of Sterling, there is part of my brain that says, Terry, don't even think about it. He's past his best. He's done. There is another part of my brain, though, that says, wouldn't it be amazing if he cooked for us? Being ex-Liverpool, being ex-Man City, flopping at Chelsea. There'd be a badge of honor in him coming to Man United and delivering. But there's also the fear factor as well. What if Sancho goes to Chelsea and is really, really good and Sterling doesn't work at Man United? It's embarrassing. So I'm all at sea. I agree with what you said, David. I don't know if it was the Sterling that City had and we had the chance to get him, I would go for it. I've always rated Raheem Sterling. I think he's an excellent player. Look, he did join Chelsea at the absolute wrong time for himself and them. He's gone into a crappy system, the club not being run well, problems everywhere. So that element, I do feel sorry for Raheem Sterling on. But I'll be honest with you, I think I'm more up for this deal because of the hope that Sancho doesn't work and Sterling does, as opposed to truly believing it's a good deal. I've been thinking about it a lot today, going, do I really want it? Or do I want it because of the hopium that I can have a little bit of a laugh with Chelsea fans? And it's probably more so I would love it to work out. But in reality, something about it I'm not sure, I'm not happy with, if that makes sense. That's just me as a United fan. I'm not happy with it. I'd rather spend the money elsewhere. I'd rather put the money elsewhere.
It seems very much like a certain deal that was done a number of years ago involving a certain Alexis Sanchez and Henrik Mkhitaryan.
Yeah.
Two people who aren't necessarily in either club's plans. Swap deal, which is seen as big wages going either way. And both players don't really hit the expectations. I think Raheem Sterling was a fantastic player and if you were able to get that player, you would do it in a heartbeat. I just don't see how this benefits either team. Like you both United take on an old player on extremely high wages, which is the one thing they've been trying to move away from this summer in order to kick off their new regime. Chelsea bring in a guy who hasn't worked yet in the Premier League and has only seemingly worked in the Bundesliga, which is the same thing they've been trying to get away from for the past 3 years, i.e. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, etc. in their eyes anyway. I just don't see how this is a deal that makes sense for either side. I think just that if Sterling's going to go, and they just need to be sold, that both clubs are better off with the cash in hand to go and invest in their actual problem positions with actual quality options rather than this swap deal, which most likely ends up with both players in the exact same situation they're in right now in 2 years' time. As United try and move Sterling's big wages onto any club that will take them, and Sancho has fallen behind the pecking order of Neto and Madueke at Chelsea and can't really get a game as want now to go back to Dortmund again. I just it doesn't make sense in my head.
For me, I think Sterling will do well at United. To be honest, the only thing I can't understand is I feel like that deal has to have cash involved for Man United. Otherwise, I just feel like Man United are kind of getting bumped. If I'm Chelsea, I'm snatching that deal. Raheem Sterling straight swap for Sancho? That deal, Chelsea have to take because you'll just make profit off selling him next season. Like, I'm not going to lie, because there's no way that Sterling's valued at the same at Chelsea as Man United valued.
Well, Chelsea have publicly stated they don't want him, even though we know Man United don't want Sancho. We can just sit there and say, well, not being in, he's still wanted. We've patched things up. Chelsea have created a situation where they can't say he's part of their plans because their manager has said he's not going to kick a ball here. For me, it's a case of this. I'm so 50-50 on the Sterling thing. But if they're up for two players, a lot of United fans have said, well, give us Carney and Sterling, and maybe we're talking, because that gives us extra quality. That gives us extra quality in the middle. That gets, so I think it depends on the other person. I think the Ben Chilwell thing, they're like, no. But if there was an offer from a player that we actually thought could also impact the team and make us better, then there's the potential to maybe look at doing it. But I don't know who else that would be. But some people are saying Carney, and a lot of people in the comments saying Carney and Sterling would be, they as Man United fans would take it. But
Terry, what about Chalobah?
Chalobah, yes and no. Look, we've got Lisandro Martinez, we've got Delic, we've got Yoro when he's back. He's only going to come to Man United and be fourth choice when everybody's fit. So as much as I think he's a good player, he's better than all the other centre-backs currently at Chelsea, in my opinion. And I think he'd be a good...
No, he's not.
I think he is. I think he's better than
Fofana. He's not, though. He's not better than Colwill. He's not. He's not better than Fofana. No, Terry. I'll tell you for free. He's not. I'll tell you for free.
We'll see. I'm just... anyway, he ain't that much worse off than him, but he's not better than our main three centre-backs that we have when they're all fit. So, yeah, I don't know. I just look at it and think, again, even with Sterling, I'm sitting in, my mind's changing. I'm flip-flopping. I'm like, what if he does leave, though, and goes to Palace? Or he does go to Villa and kills it? Then as United fans, we're going to be sitting there and thinking, that could have been us. Because I'll tell you what we don't have right now, and David, you'll admit to this, the one thing Sterling's still able to do is beat a man. We don't have a fullback. We don't have a winger that can beat a fucking man. And I just sort of feel like, I don't know. I'm so torn by it because I've always rated Sterling. I think that's what it is as well. I've always rated him. I've always praised him. But then at the same time, it's like, is he really over the hill? And if we sign him and he's past it, it's just going to be crap. I don't know. Honestly, I can't make my mind up.
Terry, him doing, you said Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, him doing well at those clubs is him doing average at Man United. The pressure is slightly different. The way that he's viewed is going to be slightly different. What the numbers he's doing right now, if he was doing it at a lesser club, we would say, yo, he's carrying the squad. Because he's not performing ridiculously bad compared to some of the other wingers in the lower down the table teams. What he is at Chelsea right now, he's in a team that's full of young players, and he won't get a game over some of these guys. And they have to move him off. You come to Man United where you're rebuilding. Do you really want a 29-year-old? This reminds me exactly of us getting Willian or us getting Henry Mkhitaryan. They're players that are win now, or older players that are not going to help you for much longer, where your project is a little bit long-term. I don't think Raheem Sterling benefits you. And Jadon Sancho moving off your books would benefit you, but then bringing in Raheem Sterling just to occupy that same space doesn't really benefit you in the long term at all. You're not looking to bring in Raheem Sterling today to get you top 4. I don't think Raheem Sterling today will benefit you that much. You'd probably be better off going and getting somebody else abroad that has more scope for growth and potential.
I hear you, and this is it. I am not married to the idea of getting him, but it's like 1 minute I think, yeah, it's a good idea, and then I think, no, I've seen many comps where he's just running into brick walls. And then I think back to all the goals he scored at City and how good and what he's done for England, and I'm like, oh, I love that at Man United because we're so. Like, Ahmad's a good player; he's got a lot to learn. Garnacho's still raw, and it's sort of 50-50 at the moment whether he plays good or if he looks young. I suppose what I am, and I'll be honest about it, I'm starving. I'm starving hungry for my attack to improve, and I mean, even an average. Relatively, even if Tom made me a sandwich when I was starving hungry, and only David's really gonna understand that joke. If you were starving, genuinely, Tom's food would taste nice because you're so malnourished. You know what I mean? But no, I do. What do you make of it, Henry? Do you think this is something? And whether it's Sterling, I mean, the deal. Who should Man United look for out of this Chelsea squad if a swap deal can be done?
Who is that?
If a swap deal can be done,
you've got 40 players to pick from, mate. There's not like there's a shortage.
Probably a midfielder, but I don't know out of the midfielders who would leave at this moment in time. I think United need a winger. I think when you look at Rashford at the moment, well, he's completely fallen off a cliff, and I think he's far too inconsistent. And then I look at Garnacho and Diallo, and I think that will be the wingers going forward. But there isn't a huge amount of other wide players available at the moment. Sancho, I think, will probably get a move abroad. Juventus links, maybe back to Dortmund, who knows. Sterling, I think, could do well at Man United, but he's 30 in December. Huge wage demands. What's probably going to be a 2 or 3 year deal? Are you going to get huge performances out of him in the next 2 or 3 years in a Man United shirt? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's too much of a risk. Does Sancho go to Chelsea? They've already got 10 forwards on the payroll. I don't think he starts for Chelsea at present. I think we saw how strong that attack can be in the right areas, in the right positions against Wolves. It doesn't really make sense. I think what Tom said earlier about it makes sense for Chelsea to get Sterling off the payroll and United to get Sancho off the payroll. I think once the Ugarte deal, they move forward with that. I think Man United's business will done, and I think they may go in for a forward in January. But it's an interesting one. I would put money on both of them going abroad. I think Sterling could maybe go Spain or Italy or even Germany, but I don't think either player will go France. But at the moment, it's one to watch. I mean, if you're a United fan, for a straight swap Sterling for Sancho, are you taking that? Probably not.
No.
Spurs should go for both of them. Spurs should go for a Sterling or Sancho if they can get it for a discount because they're much better than any of your wingers besides Son.
Well, I disagree with that. I'd take Kulusevski over both of them personally.
Really? Fair enough.
And again, it comes down to the projects as well. Like Sancho is on over 300 grand a week. Sterling's on over 300 grand a week. They're not going to take 50% wage cuts to come and play elsewhere. I don't think wherever they go, they're still going to be on the upper echelon of the payroll. So it doesn't make sense for these clubs with a project to put all their money on these players.
I understand Tottenham's wage structure. I'm not saying they're going to come to Tottenham getting paid that same kind of money. But at this moment in time, Chelsea are in a race against time. Manchester United are not that desperate to get rid of Sancho. Chelsea, they literally have a manager and a player who are basically in a feud at this point, and they have like a couple days before that the window closes. If it gets that desperate, Chelsea might have to eat some of the wages to let that player go on loan. And if that's the case, why can't a Tottenham take a Raheem Sterling at the age of 29? He's better than Brendan Johnson. He's still better than if
he's willing to take a wage cut, then yeah, you've probably got a point. But I think Romano's just retweeted something about Kingsley Coman. It wouldn't surprise me if Chelsea or Man United went in for him with an involvement of Sancho going to Bayern or Sterling going to Bayern.
Well, in terms of who to take from Chelsea, the Kingsley Coman, again, I like Coman. The only problem is he's never played more than 30 league games in his career. That man is a walking injury as well. The one thing I would say, and I know Chelsea fans are not going to like this, but there's logic behind it. Why not try to get Madueke? for Man United. And I say that because, although I know he started games, but if you want Jadon Sancho, you don't buy Jadon Sancho to be a backup. I think if you're buying Jadon Sancho, that's someone to play in your first team. You've also bought Neto to play in your first team. So who do the Chelsea board and the Chelsea manager see him being starting in front of? Well, it isn't going to be Pedro Neto that they've just bought. It's going to be Madueke. I know he's got a hat-trick yesterday and he was brilliant. But I think that's, again, if we're genuinely going to talk to Chelsea about the deal, more than Sterling, maybe that is who we should be asking about if we're looking at a wide player from Chelsea, because that would be my angle with them. Well, nobody would sign Sancho to not be a first-team player. Sancho won't agree to go to you to be backup to the 2 or 3 players that you have. I just don't think he would. I think he's going to pick a team that wants him to be in the first team. So, and we're talking in isolation of that deal. That is what I would be turning around if I was the Man United board and saying, well, maybe we'll look at it, but we don't want Sterling. We don't want Chilwell. Maybe turn around and say we want Carney and Madueke. Now, that for me is a better deal than Chilwell and Sterling. And a lot of Chelsea fans saying Terry's hilarious, but you're getting twisted here. I'm looking at it from a Man United point of view and what I would say. I'm not looking at it from what Chelsea would do. I'm just looking at it and saying, well, if they knocked on my door and I was Dan Ashworth, those might be the 2 players I would consider. Chelsea may then walk away, fair enough. But I would chance my arm at it because I think there's more in that, personally, especially Madueke coming off the bench, being an impact player, younger, more malleable.
So you
get a very swift no.
Yeah, 100%. Terry,
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what I would do.
I get your point, but you're getting told carry on with your day. So
yeah, the whole reason why they're doing the swap deal where they're adding a second player is to get rid of Raheem Sterling. It's like they wouldn't do it.
It would be hilarious if they'd done this deal and still ended up with Raheem Sterling at the club.
Yeah. No, I get you, but at the same time, forget Raheem Sterling. You're bringing in Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho plays on the right. I don't think you bring him in on the money, even though I think he'll take a pay cut. You're not bringing him in on that money to be a bench player. You're not.
But they view them. Everyone views Jadon Sancho and Manchester United right now as like a similar, not as bad as Raheem Sterling, but you're trying to get rid of him. So it's almost like both of you are taking care of each other.
I understand that, but I still see it this way. Anyone who signed Raheem Sterling is bringing him in to be a first-team player, a regular first-team player. He is, because even if he takes a pay cut, he's still going somewhere for £200,000 to £250,000 a week. That's Raheem Sterling. These players are only going somewhere to be first-team players. I know. So my point is, all I'm saying is, I would chance my arm at taking the guy that's currently starting on the right.
Yeah.
To see what's being said. Equally, that could throw the cat amongst the pigeons, just to maybe just sort of create a bit of disharmony. I'm talking about a strategy, to try and get the best out of a rival here. That's all I'm saying.